Hello, my friends. I'm so glad you're here with me today. I am sitting outside, and the katydids keep sounding off and on. I'm hoping it won't be too annoying. What I would like to discuss with you today is what God revealed to me about my mother. I told you that my mother was an alcoholic my entire childhood. And after my second stepfather died, she gave up alcohol for about 20 years. And then she met another man, and he drank, and so she started drinking again. And when my mother would drink, she would go 3 months without being sober. What she would do is drink so heavily, she would wake up drunk, continue drinking, go to bed, wake up, still be drunk. So during this was a very difficult time for me and my sister. I hope you can hear me above the katydids. My mother had been drunk for about 3 months, and my husband and I and our 4 children went on vacation to the Black Grotto. I want to say museum. I'm not sure what it's called exactly. And so we're going through this place that was built by a monk, and this monk had worked years and years and years, I have no idea how many years, to make this a beautiful grotto. You could see the love that he had put into this, and as we're going through this, I'm talking to God. And I told God that, God, I know you can stop my mother from drinking. You can do everything. So I would like to know why you're not doing this. Well, at the time, my sons were 2, 4, and 7. And my daughter was a baby. And so God said, look at your children. He said, do you love one more than the other because that child has more knowledge of you? I said, well, of course not, Lord. And he said, neither do I love you more than I love your mother. And your mother's life is coming to an end. I am allowing the drinking for some of her loved ones to withdraw from her so that her passing is not so difficult in them. I knew who God was talking about. He was talking about my niece and my nephew, who my mother helped raise, and I loved her tremendously. But because of the drinking, I saw that they were already withdrawing from her. Then God showed me what would happen to my mother when she left the earth. And when she left the earth, she had previously had a boyfriend that she loved prior to this new man in her life. And the Lord told me that she loved him because she saw the Jesus in him. He was a really good man. But he had died 6 months after they began dating. And it just broke my mother's heart. It broke my heart too, because she seemed to have found the love of her life. So, I've lost my train of thought. Hold on a minute, I'm very old. the Lord showed me what would happen to her at the end of her life, and what when she left her body, what would this man named Marvin, her boyfriend that had died, would be there to escort her into the heavenly realm. Now, my mother had a lot of lessons that she hadn't learned on earth. So instead of being able to turn to the right and go into heaven's gates, she had to turn to the left and go into the city of learning to finish learning all the lessons that she did not learn on earth. And I saw my mother walking toward what is called the river of life. And when we find ourselves that we have died and we are in heaven, first thing you need to do is go into the river of life. That will wash all of the cobwebs away from us, so that we can think more in the heavenly spiritual realm. And so I saw my mother walking toward the river of life, and she laughed, and I had never seen her have such a beautiful laugh as I did in that vision. Then the Lord told me that when she turned left and went into the city of learning, that Marvin would stay with her until she was comfortable enough that she could stay there without him. And so we need to realize God's ways are not our ways. God's thoughts are not our thoughts. I do want you to know that my mother did end up marrying this new boyfriend who was an alcoholic. She stayed drunk for 2 or 3 years. And then there was an accident, and my stepfather, he was my fifth stepfather, or fourth, I don't know. He had to go into a nursing home. And then my mother stayed sober till the end of her life. Now, when God told me this, I thought my mother was going to die right away. I came home and I called my cousin and talked to her and cried, thinking my mother was going to leave the earth. It was 15 years later before my mother left the earth. I'd also like to throw in here how we never can figure life out. When my mother was an alcoholic, she had went to the hospital with cirrhosis of the liver. And there was a doctor there, a very young doctor named Dr. Burrell. And he told her that she had no more than 3 months to live. And he told her to go home and finalize all the things she needed to do, but to not think she could drink anything, because if she did, she wouldn't have time to dial an operator. She would die immediately. And so my mother came home, and we all expected her to not live. Well, 6 months later, Dr. Burrell had been sent to Vietnam, and he got killed in Vietnam. My mother lived 30 years after the prediction that she could no longer live more than 3 months. I just want everyone to know we can't figure life out. We need to take day by day. We need to have gratefulness in our hearts toward God. And I'm talking about gratefulness for all things. For the cars we drive, the air we breathe, the children we have, our bathrooms, our kitchen, our showers. Thank God for everything. And I just want you to know that I will see you next time. And thank you so very much for sharing your time with me. I appreciate it. And I always forget, be sure and subscribe, like, and comment. I kept forgetting the word comment. I would love to hear from everybody. Thank you so very much. Bye.